Well, hello again, boys and girls. Well, where did we leave Mr. Mousey, Mr. Rabbit and Nogger? In that deep, dark green forest when they suddenly stopped because they had all heard a noise? Well, we'll have to go on a wee bit to find out what the noise was, because we're going to read a couple of chapters now. The first one is very short and it takes us somewhere different just for a minute. Chapter 20, The City. A single tear sat on the soft cheek of the girl as she looked wistfully out of the window. The view before her was impressive, but one she had grown to fear more each day as each day passed. Far below, the stone city bustled with movement and noise as soldiers moved through the streets, some on horses, some on foot. Carts carrying stores and all the equipment needed to supply a garrison town trundled through the cobbled streets, and now and again she could hear the coarse cries of their drivers shouting for folk to get out of the way. If she peered over the window, she could see the permanent guard at the base of the tower she was in. 6 heavily armed Discallis stood to attention, 2 at the door at the base of the tower, and 2 at the gate on the wall surrounding her prison. Of these 4, 2 would march off every so often and circle the wall in a heavy, thumping march. Princess Jelana was slightly built and had long, dark, silky hair cascading down her back. She was wearing a single-piece dress which fitted her neatly and went all the way to the ground. Set on her head was a small tiara which her captors had allowed her to keep. Anyone looking in at that moment would have immediately been struck by her elegant bearing, which came naturally to her and was unpractised. The room, which was her lofty prison, was sparsely furnished, there being only a bed, a single chair, and a rough table. On the table sat her water jug, a few personal items such as a comb and a mirror and a large leather box. Jelana walked away from the window and once again fingered the box. The lid opened easily and hinged back to show the empty inside, apart from a single tawny feather. "Was I wise?" she spoke out softly to herself. "You were my only window of hope, and now I can only wait and hope that you have fallen into the right hands." You see, the box had once held a large red book. It had been given to her by her father and had been given to him by his. It was no ordinary book, she knew that, and it possessed great wisdom. Often she would marvel at the stories it told, stories that wrote themselves and were different every time the book was opened. One night, as she lay half awake, half asleep, something had fluttered in through the open window, and its shadowy form had stood quietly for a time at the bottom of her bed. Somehow she had been more curious than afraid at the time, and had only asked the creature or great bird what it was that it wanted. "Your book, Princess," it had softly replied. But my father gave it to me. It is my last possession of his memory." "I know, my dear," the kindly voice had replied, "but if we are to get you out of here, we are going to need some help, and with your book I may know the very 2 who may be your only hope." She had trusted the kindly voice, and had therefore given up the precious red book. The creature had spoken one last time before perching on the window and flying off into the darkness. "Do not lose hope, Princess. There are more for you than you may possibly hope to imagine. Answers to prayers don't always come the way we might imagine." In the morning, she had at first thought she was remembering a dream, until she saw that her box was empty. On the floor she found a single feather, and this she had placed on the box, and in the box as a reminder that there was yet hope, and that hope was alive.